I woke up a couple of hours ago, I check Instagram, and I see that my timeline is flooded with breaking news of Jon Jones being injured. He is out of his fight with Stipe Miocic at UFC 295 with a chest or shoulder injury. And we now have a new heavyweight fight that's on this card for the interim title between Tom Aspinall and Sergei Pavlovich. And to that I say, hell yes, man. As much as I was going to enjoy watching Stipe Miocic and Jon Jones, and Stipe would have presented an interesting stylistic matchup to Jones, it just felt too formal. It felt a little forced. It was like the UFC was trying to give Jones free legacy, a free win over an aging Stipe Miocic who's been out of the cage collecting dust and cobwebs on the shelf, man. And as much as I would have, again, enjoyed that fight, these are two heavyweights in their prime that have been finishing everyone in the first round. This is the hardcore fans' main event. This is the better fight. All right? And first of all, Jones is out with an injury. He's going to be out for 8 months. Where the hell is Stipe Miocic? This just goes to show that Stipe wanted to test his luck against Jones in a win-win situation. You know what I mean? Whereas if he were to lose, well, it's against the goat of the sport. But you cannot convince me that this guy really loves fighting anymore. Again, he's been out for years. I don't think he's nearly as hungry as Aspinall or Pavlovich. And it's hard to sell that. I think a lot of you guys would agree with me. It was hard to sell that Stipe and Jones was going to be competitive, that it was going to be anything less than Jones running through an old man. And now we get to see, instead of, the consistent 40-year-old men going at it in the heavyweight division, we actually get to see two young killers in their prime. I cannot fucking wait for this fight, man. And apparently the UFC is talking about rebooking Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic for the interim belt after this, which just goes to show that not only is Jones looking to retire indefinitely, he's definitely looking to retire, but he doesn't want to fight the winner of Pavlovich and Aspinall, who will have the interim title. I mean, that's like if Leon Edwards were to pull out of his fight with Colby Covington, and Colby doesn't want to fight for the interim belt against Shavkat, so they have Khamzat and Shavkat fight for the interim title at 170, and the winner of that isn't even going to face Leon Edwards because the UFC has to book Leon versus Colby because Leon plans on retiring after and doesn't want to take a big risk. And for Jones, very smart of him to do that. He wants to preserve his legacy. That's what he's about. He's made that clear. It is very smart of him to do that. But his whole argument has been the reason why he wants to fight Stipe is because Stipe has a bigger name. And what I have to say to that is, outside of hardcore fans, nobody knows who the fuck Stipe is. At the end of the day, it's just a less risky matchup. I think it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's just clear to me that Jones will not want to fight Pavlovich or Aspinall at this point. It's okay. Very smart approach from Jon Jones. But again, we're going to have to see that formal, look, we got to follow the rules, forced fight between Stipe and Jones after this. But let's talk about the real main event. It's actually going to be the co-main to Yuri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira. I mean, Jesus Christ, this card is so good now. I have a really hard time picking this fight because, listen, man, although Tom Aspinall has all of this finesse and he's got crazy knockout power, he can mix it up well on the feet, he's very smart, and he's got nasty jiu-jitsu skills, it's easier said than done to go out there and level change on a guy that's built like a refrigerator, that has a Jon Jones-esque reach. And surprise, surprise, one of his best weapons is an uppercut to catch guys that will inevitably want to level change, okay? If you get rocked by Pavlovich once, you're just as good as toast, all right? You're just going to fight a little bit more hesitant, and that's never a good thing in front of someone that can put you out with a couple of follow-up shots. This is extremely dangerous, and Aspinall has mentioned in an interview that I just listened to on the Mac Life that this is actually the most dangerous person you could possibly fight on short notice. The good thing is, one of Aspinall's redeeming qualities is that he is humble, okay? He has a good team around him, a close-knit team. His dad is his head coach, so he's rooted. And I think that he's going to be humble enough to understand that even though he could go out there and knock anyone out, he cannot be taking those risks with someone like Sergei, and he needs to just make Sergei make one mistake, make him miss one punch. And because he's so fast and he's got some finesse and he's not plotty like Curtis Blades, he will be strong enough to take down someone like Sergei Pavlovich. And if you really think about Aspinall, he's like a bigger version of Jailton Almeida with proven knockout power on the feet, which again, with the threat of the takedown, makes you that much more lethal. And the reason why Aspinall is so dangerous on the ground, because as I said, you're as good as toast if you get tagged by Pavlovich. Well, if Pavlovich gets put on his back, he's toast too. He's going to be like a turtle on its shell. That's how most of the heavyweights are. Because, I mean, this is just the fucking truth about the heavyweight division. I feel like these guys don't even train outside of training camp. Now, I think that Pavlovich is an exception to that rule. He's someone that's extremely hungry, but I can't see this guy drilling, rear naked choke defense, right? Drilling how to get out of a body lock, drilling Kimura defense, head and arm triangle defense. He's probably drilling a couple of things. That's his boxing and his takedown defense, and that's pretty much that. A lot of these heavyweights just rely on their brute strength sometimes. And Aspinall, when he was younger, and his dad has mentioned this, remember his dad is his head coach, so he's had a lot of interviews. He's mentioned that Tom Aspinall had a massive growth spurt, all right? And before he had this growth spurt, he was actually kind of like a skinnier, friller guy compared to how he is today. And given that, he was someone that was always working on his techniques, always working on just getting better with your skills. And whereas a lot of other heavyweights would just rely on that strength, the brute strength, to get out of bad positions, to bully people into submissions, Aspinall has the skill, similar to Jailton Almeida. And we've seen how Jailton Almeida has been running through people on the ground. So this fight is either going to go one of two ways. Aspinall is going to make this man miss, and he's going to catch him on the feet with a knockout shot, or he's going to level change, take him down, and twist him into a pretzel. Because, listen, nobody does what Aspinall did to Volkov unless they're special. Nobody does what Aspinall did to Andrei Arlovsky unless they're special. You don't just run through these heavyweights unless you have a clear skill advantage that's tremendous, okay, in the grappling department. And listen, Sergei Pavlovich is going to be a hard man to take down. The number one thing he's probably working on, aside from that boxing, of course, is the takedown defense, because we know he was taken down by Alistair Overeem, who beat the fuck out of him, who TKO'd him back in the day. But that was 6 years ago, and he shucked Curtis Blades off of him pretty easily. And he's big and he's strong. And all he has to do is land a couple of shots on Aspinall on the feet, who does sometimes get hit. He could knock Aspinall out too. I can't wait for this fight, man. I cannot wait. It is so much better than the original main event. The shitty thing is, I was really looking forward to seeing Jon Jones just fighting in general, because there's still so many questions about Jon Jones at heavyweight. What's he going to look like? And I hope that this fight can tempt him out of retirement. Or I shouldn't say retirement, because let's be honest, it kind of feels like he is retired in a way. I hope that this fight can tempt him to take on the winner, but it probably won't. And as much as I'd love to see Jon Jones face one of these guys, you have to give it to him. And if I'm a Jon Jones fan, I'm loving this energy from Jones. He's not risking his legacy. Like, this guy has a tunnel vision, clear-cut path to going down as the GOAT and not taking that many risks at this point in his career. And I wish that my favorite fighters were to do the same thing, but I'm a Volk fan. So we have to deal with that aspect of Volkanovski getting knocked out a bunch of times. But listen, guys, I love this fight. I want to know what you guys think. Are you more excited for this than you were for the original main event? Of course, this isn't actually the main. The main event's going to be Yuri Prohaska and Alex Pereira, which is just a hardcore fan's dream, man. The best heavyweight matchup you could possibly make between two heavyweights that are actually training year-round and going hard, all right? That are like characters, man. Imagine, dude, this is so great, man. I cannot fucking wait for this fight.